Hey, everybody, let me get you promoted here. So hang on just 1 second. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and make you a co-host. So hang on 1 second. And Brett, I'm gonna make you co-host too. Co-host. And Gina. GH. Well, thank you, Gina. If you wouldn't mind helping promote people, that'd be great. Brett, good to see you.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. Absolutely. If you could also give me the chance to record, that'd be great. If you could just say allow me to record,
Yes.
that'd be awesome.
Hang on 1 second here. Panelist, Brett. Wonder why it's not giving me the option. I wonder if when I made you co-host, it automatically allowed you to record. See if you can hit the record button. Tell me what happens.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess it is recording on my end then. Yeah.
Okay. All right, good. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too, Gary. How you doing?
Good. We'll have a good crowd tonight. So this is live, interactive. People will engage. You'll get questions. What'll happen is between Gina and I will monitor the chat box. Now, do you have a PowerPoint you need to share also?
I do, yes, sir.
Excellent. Okay, and we usually give everybody another like 5 till 5 after. We try to run like a military unit, but
that's fine. It'd be good just everyone to put in the chat where they're from, what their investor, they're a broker,
Okay.
just first name, where they're from, investor, broker, so I can kind of get a gauge for who I'm going to be presenting to.
Yeah. So you guys could just type in a chat box where you're from, and if you're an investor or an agent or both. And we do have agents literally from coast to coast, and also different brokerage companies. A lot of us are EXP, but we have people on routinely from different brokerages. Well,
Beautiful.
Remax, Keller Williams, you name it. So, yeah,
love it all.
North, south, east, west. Everybody's 39 years old from as far as I recall. Anyway, so I just
can you see my screen okay?
Yep, it says building a capital gains tax solutions exit plan.
Okay, great.
So guys, before I introduce Brett, one thing I want to emphasize from I don't know if it was last Monday or the Monday before, being between Thanksgiving and Christmas, if you want to drum up business, like now business, one of the best things you can do is to scour or scan the for rent ads, excuse me. If you see a for rent sign too, especially the do it yourself one, write down the number and call the owner. Okay. That's usually who's putting the sign up there. And the for rent ads, like in your Penny Saver, your Green Sheet, even on Craigslist, just be careful. Craigslist is full of ads, but call those owners, and it's really easy. Just right off the bat, you tell them, say, look, hi, Sally, Greg, Eric, whoever you're calling, I'm calling you about your property located at whatever the address is, right? If you saw a sign, if it's in a paper, generally they won't put an address in the paper. Sometimes they do, but usually they don't. Just say you're calling about the property for rent. And as soon as they answer or respond, you have to disclose right away. So it's just, but the reason I'm calling is I am an agent, and I recognize what it means to rent a rental during the month of December between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I'm sure inventory is tight right now. Would you ever consider selling if the price was right? Instead of going through the hassle of renting, would you consider selling if the price was right? Say it just like that. So you did your disclosure, not the full-blown state disclosure, just disclosing that you're a realtor, a real estate agent. And when you ask somebody if they would sell if the price is right, most business people would probably say, Yeah, but what are we talking about here? Just want to get the conversation going. And I'm telling you, as a landlord myself, no landlord likes to rent a vacancy during December, right? Even January for that matter. Usually is an indicator that something else is going on with the property. They're mismanaging it. They're not collecting the rents. Hey, who knows? Who knows what the story is? Maybe they just got problems with the property. They haven't been able to remodel it. They can't keep it up. Those are all reasons. Landlords just get tired. They just get tired, believe me. So I'm telling you from experience. So I'm going to have you just please write that down. If you want business now, I would use that technique. So, anyway, so let's go and get started here, guys. So Brett Schwartz is on, and he's going to talk about a really awesome alternative, the 1031 exchange. We could probably talk about a number of things, but I met Brett through interviewing on the podcast, and I thought right away, we've got to have this on the class. So this is the kind of subject, guys, that you can use for yourself, for your own investing, but also you can use it to share with your clients who are investing. In fact, you can use them with clients who are buying their own home. When I know people that put everything in trust, everything, including their own personal home. Okay. In fact, my next home, that's what it's going to do. I'm going to put it in a trust. I'm already working on that. So, I could go on, but Brett's the expert, or far more knowledgeable than I am. So, Brett, first off, I just want to say thanks for coming on board and doing this. I know you're quite busy, and I know how lucky we are to have you come on to teach the subject tonight.
Thank you so much, Gary. And I'm excited to be here as well. And so I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to dive right in. As you have questions, please do ask the questions, but ask them first in the chat. I'm probably going to go through it for you, through the presentation, but I want to make sure I get to that. I'm going to also copy the streaming link real fast too. I'm going to see if I can also live stream this from my thing here. Stream key. Is that I think that's the RTM. Let's see here. Let's see if that works there. Actually, looks like.
If you're going to actually show a video, what you do when you do share, before you click on what you're going to share, that it'll be in a panel with several things you can share. Towards the bottom edge of that panel, you'll see optimize.
Yeah. Yep. It'll optimize and share sound. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. That would help a lot.
Great. Yeah, let's all do. So just give me 1 second here as I pull that up. And then everybody, if you haven't already, please put your name in the chat. That'd be awesome. So I can name and your profession, if you're an investor or a broker, so I know how to tailor the message as best I can to the audience. And let's see here. So share. But in the meantime, we're going to start with optimize for video clip. That looks cool. This right here. All right, ready to go? Here we go.
Are you telling me that you have a way to defer the tax situation there? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And so the first one I was referring to is a 1031 exchange, which only applies to investment real estate. The second one I'm referring to is called a deferred sales trust.
A real eye-opener to see that there are ways that people can use the regulatory framework, if properly structured, to invest 1031 exchange dollars in things that you would not think were like-kind to what they exited from. So it was very impressive. I got to say, you are the first one I've seen pull this off, and I'm pretty hesitant to believe in a lot of these kinds of things. So it's a major feat for me to say, wow, this actually really worked, and it was really cool.
1031 is a way to shelter your income when you sell the thing. The DST is a way to avoid the 1031 and not have to suffer the time penalty.
Our career and during different tax periods, we've seen, these tax avoidance, tax minimization, offshore, all these different strategies undertaken to minimize or avoid taxes. And then I can tell you that, some of them are just not worth the trouble. And so I was skeptical. Admittedly, I was skeptical. I thought, oh yeah, here we go, another one of these, right? And then they say, no, it really is different, right? So look more closely. We looked more closely. We had, honestly, 2 years of conversations 2 years. Now we were being due diligence at the same time that we were doing due diligence, but 2 years is a long time to be, sort of flirting with the idea of and getting to know the people and getting to really understand the transaction. Yeah, long story short, we got comfortable, although we are not tax attorneys, lawyers, or estate planning attorneys, that at least, from an investment perspective, that, it made sense to sell a highly appreciated asset, get liquid, hold that in this type of a deferred or installment sale type of instrument, and then just be in a position then to do the most important thing. I'm probably stealing your next question, which is time. They say, well, you can't make more time. You can. The deferred sales trust in a way allows you to lengthen the investment time horizon for those assets after getting liquid, but before having to feel the tax impact. And from an investment manager's perspective, time horizon is the most important element in investing.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to go rapid fire. We're going to talk a lot about ways to help yourself or your clients escape feeling trapped by capital gains tax. And, we want to start with some of the whys behind what we're doing here. Are your clients feeling a little bit stressed, a little bit uncertain, feel a little bit of pain when they go to sell because they are being forced into a 1031 exchange and or don't even have a 1031 option? Do they have 25 to 50% in capital gains tax? And is there some urgency and sense of urgency to actually get out before the market changes rapidly here, or could potentially even more so with real estate in the near future? And they're looking at a large capital gains tax, and that's what's holding them back from selling. What are their needs, wants, and desires? What are their challenges? What are the feelings that they're feeling? And how do we create a wealth plan or help them understand what's even possible to help them get to a place of not uncertainty but a place of creativity, not a place of powerlessness, but a place of clarity and a place where they can become alive and free to do what they want with their wealth and with their time and their energy. And the key to this is having solutions beyond just the traditional 1031 exchange. And so that's what we're going to talk about. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. And I'm glad you're here. You're investing in yourself for your own deals or for your clients. And that's really the key. And the key of this is, basically we're going to talk about how to build a capital gains tax solutions exit plan, how to sell, exit, and defer millions in capital gains tax on the sale of any asset. Okay. So let's dive right in. I am Brett Swartz. I'm the founder of Capital Gains Tax Solutions. I'm also a deferred sales trust expert. I'm also a commercial real estate investor and multifamily broker. I actually happen to also be with EXP Commercial. I've been a broker for years, and this is part of how I learned about it. We'll talk about that more in a minute. A little bit of my background before we dive in. I've closed over $400 million in commercial real estate and deferred sales trust transactions, and also some Delaware statutory trust. And I'm formerly a multifamily agent at Marcus and Millichap. Is where I started out specializing in multifamily real estate brokerage. And again, current multifamily broker at EXP Commercial here in Sacramento, California. Soon to be also, our second office is going to be in St. Augustine, Florida. We are moving there, Lord willing. We put an offer on a house, got accepted yesterday. And so we'll see if that all happens here in January. But I have extensive experience with 1031 exchanges, Delaware statutory trust, and of course, deferred sales trust. And I've held my Series 22 and 63 license. It's a little legal disclaimer. This message is for educational purposes and is solely intended to provide an overview of how the deferred sales trust works and how it can be implemented. Capital Gains Tax Solutions does not provide legal tax professional services or advice in regards to the legal aspect of it. We do provide what's called trustee services to help with the ongoing maintenance of the trust. But each transaction for yourself, for your clients, the circumstances vary. And so you want to make sure you're bringing in independent legal tax and professional advice to make sure everything is fitting your circumstance. Okay. So the agenda, we're going to talk about really learn how to escape feeling trapped by capital gains tax using a deferred sales trust, and how to unlock sleeping capital to increase your cash flow and tax flow. So the first big question for everybody is this: are you reluctant to sell because of capital gains tax? Or perhaps it's one of your clients. So we have, thank you for coming. We have Trevor from Tulsa. We have Deborah. We have G from Orlando. We got Rob, who's an agent and investor. Thank you, Gregory. from Phoenix, and Melanie from somewhere. I'm not sure. Hello, Melanie. Of course, we have Gary from Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Florida. Craig, everyone else, this is great. So we have to ask yourself, are you or your clients reluctant to sell because of capital gains tax? And by the way, this could be for a primary home. This could be for a business. This could be for investment real estate. It could be for cryptocurrency. Or I can tell you that my clients, before they find us, and the agents that we work with before they bring us their clients, they're really reluctant to sell. Why? Because they're millionaires and they have huge capital gains tax, somewhere between 30 and 50% of their gain. Might be a little bit lower if they're in certain favorable states, like in Florida, it could be like maybe 25%, but also there's the depreciation recapture that's a part of that. But every single day, people call us, and if they don't know about us, they're paying hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars of capital gains tax when they don't have to. And they feel like they're trapped to have to stay in their house, to have to stay in that investment property, to stay in that business, to stay in that cryptocurrency. And they really want to be able to sell, defer the tax, and invest mostly in investment real estate, but also defer the capital gains tax and invest into stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and kind of diversify their wealth. So what is a deferred sales trust? Well, it's a great question. First of all, it's not a 1031 exchange. Not a 1031 exchange. In fact, it's not a Delaware statutory trust, which is just another form of a 1031. We'll call that the Delaware 1031. They're a part of the 1031s are part of what's called Blockbuster. Blockbuster is the analogy we're going to be using tonight. Gary, do you remember going to Blockbuster on a Friday night about 15 years ago?
Yep. Yeah. It seems like longer than that, but that's before I had any gray hair.
Before you had gray hair, but
Yeah.
if you're in Pennsylvania, you might have to drive through the
Oh, yeah.
cold or maybe some snow, and you have to park, and you have to return the movie within 3 days. And if you didn't
With the
rewind
kids.
it
Yep.
with the kids, or the DVD was
Yep.
scratched, or, but it's something it's pretty inflexible, right? Well, that's like the
Yep.
1031 year. That's what I would say to you and everyone else today. The 1031 is blockbuster exit planning. It's the old way of doing things. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with maybe going to a local video store and getting a video, and it can be a really good thing. I've done lots of 1031 exchanges, and I love them when it makes sense for my client for what they're actually trying to achieve. So the first question you want to ask your client or yourself is, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to do? Where are you trying to go with your wealth plan, with your time, your energy? What are you trying to do? What is your B? What is your clear B of where you're trying to go? I have a coach. His name is Coach Burt. They call him America's Coach. And he always talks about, what is your B? What is your B? What is your B as an agent? What is your B for your client? And clarifying that B is so important, which leads into, where are you at right now? Which leads into what's going to get you to your B. And here's the reality. I had a client, his name was Peter. He was selling 18 multifamily units in Sacramento. And I said, Peter, why don't you just do a 1031 Blockbuster? Why don't you just do a Delaware statutory trust? Why don't you do a 1031? Just keep swapping until you drop, right? Just keep building it up, baby. That's the way to do it, right? And he goes, you know what, Brett? I've got a couple $1 million. I'm 70 years old. I've been doing this for 30 years. He goes, I have 18 problems right now. I'm driving from Marin, California, 2 hours to Sacramento, about 2 days a week, fighting traffic. I was in my tenant's, there was a drive-by, and my car was shot. They weren't shooting at me. I was in the tenant fixing the unit. He goes, Brett, I have 18 problems right now. I don't need 36 problems. I've got millions of dollars. I don't need to build more wealth per se. And I don't need any more problems. I go, why don't you just do a Delaware then, right? And he goes, well, Brett, I don't want to give up all of that control. I don't want to give up all liquidity, all diversification, and have these huge fees. Because that's why I chose the deferred sales trust. I can defer my tax. I can diversify the wealth. I can preserve it, and I can keep my powder dry if the market shifts, right? And so that was Peter's story. So he had a very clear B, right? Didn't want the toilets, trash, and liability. Didn't want to be driving back and forth, right? Didn't want to overpay for another property and be in the same situation perhaps that he was in now. And so the deferred sales trust solved that for him. And that's the key here, right? Sometimes it might be the 1031. Sometimes they might find the deal that makes sense. And by all means, do a 1031 exchange. We'll give you a high five if you can find that deal. But what we're seeing right now is rising interest rates, cap rates remaining pretty relatively where they're at, maybe a little bit higher, right? Sellers still having what's called a 2021 price expectation, buyers having a 2023 price expectation, and interest rates went from 3.5 or so to about 6. So you're getting this inverse fluctuation on what you can borrow and what you can get a cap rate at. And that's commercial real estate, but it's also happening with cash flow as it pertains to the stock market. Stock market's also taking a hit. Crypto's completely disintegrated. It's been a complete disaster, except for, we'll see if Bitcoin and Ethereum come back. But at the end of the day, clarify for yourself or for your clients what you're trying to get to and what's going to get you there. And too often we see that the 1031 exchange is just can be a real disaster for people. And in fact, when I was at Marcus and Millichap, we had a client that we told in 2006, before we knew about the deferred sales trust, to sell everything because we thought something might be changing, and he had a lot of leverage. And he goes, Brett, I can't find a 1031. I'm going to stay where I'm at. And he ended up losing everything. He had $50 million worth of real estate. And I saw client, friends, and family lose half or everything because they had too much debt, not enough liquidity, not enough diversification. And that's what instilled in me a fire to actually learn about the deferred sales trust and start operating. And so the first thing, why do you need one? Well, for all the reasons I said before, your future. You see, that's the B. See on the corner there of the Monday morning quarterback? You are here, or you or your client are here, and they're trying to get somewhere, and that's their B. You want to make sure you help them clarify where they're trying to go. And then it's just a matter of what solution is going to help them get there. Are they going to try to defer some income tax? I had a client, a primary luxury home in Palo Alto, $8 million property. Remember, 1031 does not qualify for a primary home. In fact, 1031 is blockbuster because it only qualifies if you the asset being sold only qualifies if you're selling investment real estate. Whereas the deferred sales trust works for investment real estate, businesses, primary homes, crypto, stock. But also he wanted to move to Nevada, like a lot of people moving out of California. He wanted to establish residency. So what did he do? He sold the highly appreciated primary home, deferred the tax, paid off his debt. And then he started receiving some income in Nevada, which guess what? If you're receiving the interest income, it's a lower state tax, which is pretty cool, right? We've also had countless saved 1031 exchanges. So you might say, well, Brett, that's all great, but I still want to go for a 1031. Hey, no problem. Go for your 1031. Allow us to be that backup plan for you. Allow us to be that alternative in case it doesn't work out. We can save a failed 1031. I can't tell you the peace of mind it gives our clients and the agents that work with us to know that it's like an insurance policy. It's incredible, right? You can get a new depreciation schedule. That's a little more advanced, but that's a cool thing. But optimal timing is probably one of my favorite here because you can buy investment real estate. And this is what goes to the Monday morning quarterback. In fact, in 2006, a gentleman sold an asset in Minnesota. And this is actually the reason I started Capital Gains Tax Solutions. I was at Marcus and Millichap, and we thought we were the Navy SEALs of investment brokerage real estate and 1031 exchanges. And, we thought we were the best of the best. And then we learned something new in 2009, and we were really humbled because of the 2008 crash. But what we learned during that time is that people who had used the deferred sales trust not only sold high, but then they went on to buy low, all tax deferred, not within the 180 days. In fact, this gentleman sold a $20 million asset, and 5 years later was able to partner with the trust to purchase an asset at about 60 cents on the dollar. Sell high, buy low, which is what our parents taught us to do. But guess what the blockbuster 1031 forces us to do? Sell high and oftentimes buy higher 180 days later. So the deferred sales trust gives you that optimal timing, which increases the value for your clients or for yourself to build wealth. And that's the key. It's not just a tax deferral plan. It's actually a wealth building plan, because timing is the one thing we can never get back. And if we can time buying high and selling low and diversifying, it's an absolute game changer for everybody. So I want you to write this down. It's not just about cash flow. It's about tax flow.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about cash flow. It's about tax flow. And it's increasingly about tax flow because guess what? The government has a spending problem. Okay. And they're spending a lot of money and they're raising taxes. In fact, it's over 31 trillion, by the way. Look what's happened the last 10 years in the debt. And no matter what side you're voting for or you're rooting for, they both all have a spending problem. And it's a train wreck, okay? And guess what they're having to raise taxes. They're having to figure out ways to pay for all this stuff, right? So your job for your wealth is not only about cash flow, it's more about tax flow. Your job as an agent is not only just to help people understand cap rates, their IRRs, their cash on cash returns, all of that stuff, right? Their affordability if they're buying a home. It's about how are they going to mitigate and manage their taxes, which is the tax flow. Okay. So very, very important to understand that that's how the deferred sales trust is like Netflix, because it changes what your clients can do to build wealth. Okay. It can defer tax on any asset of any kind. And it is great. It can also remove or solve the 40% estate tax. So if you have any ultra high net worth clients, we can eliminate estate tax, which is incredible. The 1031 can never do that. In fact, 1031 gives you what's called a stepped up basis, but it does not give you elimination of estate tax. But we can give you diversification. The funds can be invested in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, or real estate, or even other business ventures. You can also have liquidity and you can pay off debt. You can also retire if you want to. You can also be an entrepreneur if you want to. It's really, really flexible, which is cool. Okay. So my goals for this presentation is to help you to understand how to grow your cash flow with the DST, Deferred Sales Trust, even if you don't have any capital gains tax deferral knowledge or a ton of time. Number two, how to save a failing 1031 to invest into syndications or other assets and via the Deferred Sales Trust. How to leverage the Deferred Sales Trust to grow your wealth, eliminate estate tax, and increase your tax flow immediately. If you guys are pumped up, could you give me a little something in the chat or a thumbs up or like, let's go. I'm feeling good. Okay. So it's really, really important that you understand the backstory. And I told you a little bit about it. And this was not me in 2006. In fact, I was one of the guys in the back. I was not Leonardo DiCaprio, just cold calling people, closing deals. I was one of the guys scratching my head like, how the heck are these people making all this money? I was brand new in the business, but I loved the business and I was working 100% commission. And my cousin was my mentor. He was coaching me and helping me get in. And he was the one closing the deals. I had an amazing manager. He said, Brett, one day you'll be one of the best. You just got to work hard and learn and you can do it. So I'm all pumped up. I'm all excited. And I got some momentum going. I get going, right? And then what happened? Oh my goodness, the 08 crash. How many of you were at the 08 crash in the business? If you are, you're a rock star. If you're even right here still in the real estate business. Well, that's where I was. I went from making a little bit to like nothing overnight. And not only that, but it was devastating because I was, now, looking at being in a place where I'm newly married, baby on the way, and we're trying to figure this whole thing out called life being married and trying to provide for my family. My parents were divorced at a young age. And so wealth for me was the story of two places. Number one, it was a story of a lot of wealth before parents were divorced, and then a story of dad divorce and wealth with my dad and not paying my mom any child support. So we lived 90% with my mom, 10% of the time with my dad. And my dad taught me some amazing things, how to work hard. We built real estate throughout the Bay Area, custom homes, cash flow, being an entrepreneur. Love my dad. Dad divorced, no money. We'd go over to his house. He had the Harleys. He had the Corvettes. He had the boats. We do all the fun, cool stuff. We go to my mom's. We barely could afford a car. We had live with my grandma. She became like my second mom and dad. And, I'm blessed. I mean, the Lord provided great coaches and mentors and people to build me up. And so I'm blessed to be here. But at a young age, I don't know if anyone's been through a divorce before, or at least their parents been through a divorce, right? You start to you're like, what really happened? And by age 16, I'm like, what's really happened? And you find out the real story. And you're like, oh my gosh. So I got really angry. And part of that anger was because my dad wasn't doing the things he should be doing, which led me to say, you know what? When I get older, I'm never going to let finances get in the way. In fact, I'm going to create so much margin for our family that we can just give. And, my kids are never going to have to feel the pain of being in between a divorce and a family with a lot of wealth and no wealth and the whole thing that goes in between all that. So for the first time, I had forgot about that for a while. So now I'm in my, early 20s, and all of a sudden, all of this fear starts flooding back in my mind. It's like a fear grips me. I remember sitting in my mentor's office and the pain was like, what's going on? All of a sudden it's like, oh no. I'm married now, the pressure, I'm not making any money. How am I going to support my family? This could blow up the marriage. All of this stuff that starts flooding into my mind. I remember just bawling. I don't cry. I never cry. I probably should cry more. Just cry. And it was devastating to go from being very successful. I played college basketball. I had amazing mentors, amazing training, but no matter what, every deal just kept blowing up. And I'm just going, this is so bad. And I just felt like a failure as a father, as a husband, and it was just really a tough time financially. So I was going through that struggle. But my clients that were the millionaires were going through struggles because they had built 10, 15, 20 years of wealth, 30 years of wealth, and now they're losing half of everything over this period of time. So I did what every good entrepreneur does, or real estate broker wannabe does, or anyone who has a dream, right? I get a side hustle. How many of you been to a place called Cheesecake Factory? Anyone ever been there?
Mhm.
Well, that was me. This was not me. I was not Leonardo DiCaprio. I was the guy in the back who would wear the same tie. I say I was this guy. Now, this guy kind of looks like me, but I literally wear the same shirt and tie. And it's like Clark Kent. I would switch outfits, and I would nights and weekends, 70-hour weeks, 7 days a week. I'd work by day at Marcus and Millichap, negotiating with banks and talking with clients, helping them out. And by night, I work at Cheesecake Factory to keep the lights on, to keep my wife home full time. Moved my brother into a small condo, and that became the 2-year financial desert and struggle. But how many of you know that these deserts produce perseverance and help you to go further in life? It's a blessing now, but at the time it was very, very painful. And but I felt called to stay in the business despite making next to zero at Marcus and Millichap. And I worked for 2 years at Cheesecake Factory. Now, during this time, guess what? I learned about the deferred sales trust. In fact, in 2009 is when I first learned about this. And that began the journey of actually starting to understand and study and practice it. And as I studied and practiced this, I started getting meetings with people that I'd never get meetings before. I started to get more business. My business started to grow. And fast forward, my wife and I now have 5 children. We live here in Roseville, California, soon to be Florida for about 70% of the time. We have 4 daughters and a son. And now I coach and train and teach and across the country, mostly on Zooms these days and via the podcast and the YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, you can go to Capital Gains Tax Solutions YouTube channel, subscribe. I highly suggest that. And also our podcast. And we have a book coming out as well here soon. But I say all of that to say anything is possible. And if you're in a tough spot right now and you believe in something, perseverance, coaching, it might mean a side hustle. It might mean thinking outside the box. It might mean doing what it takes to achieve what you're trying to achieve. But I started at literally the rock bottom. It was really tough, but I'm happy to be here now. But all of that stuff prepared me for times like this, because right now we're already in a recession, and people need your help, and people need the deferred sales trust. They need to know what it can do and how it can help them. And that's why we're here tonight. Okay. So after 10 plus years, 10,000 hours, blood, sweat, and tears with the tax attorneys on calls, studying and practicing the deferred sales trust, I discovered the hard way of how to do this. But how many of you want to learn the easy way? Just give me a little raised hand, a little thumbs up or something there. Yeah. By the way, if you've been struggling, this is probably why we call it the perfect storm. There's actually storms, plural. There was the real estate, stock, crypto record highs. Now that's complete disaster wrecked. Real estate that's shifting now, stock market that's definitely went down in the last few months. But bigger than that, we have the other storm of what's called a $32 trillion baby boomer wealth transfer. Now, this is known as the largest wealth transfer in the history of the planet, right? In fact, 50% of the total net worth in America is tied to high-end primary homes, businesses, and commercial real estate. And then also private equity, okay? Those asset classes are mostly, or a lot of them are owned by baby boomers who've owned them for 10, 20, 30 years. And it has rapid appreciation. So we have never seen in the history of the planet that we know of more wealth that's going to transfer in the next 20 years than we're about to see right now. And that means the money's either going to be in the hands of entrepreneurs and people and owners, or they will not sell because they have no tax plan, or they will, and then it'll be, like I said in the beginning, in the hands of the government, which guess what? They're not very efficient with the money. Okay. By the way, it's a good thing, the deferred sales trust, because one of the tenets of it is it must be invested back into investments in businesses and stock market, which actually spurs economic growth, spurs job creation, and spurs more tax revenue. So that's part of why we also have 1031 exchanges in IRAs and 401ks, in case you're wondering, like, wow, man, like this doesn't sound like it's good for the government. It's actually the best thing for the government because it actually spurs economic movement of money. And by the way, if you've also been struggling, this is also probably why. It's not your fault. Your CPA doesn't know about it. Most CPAs are general practitioners, and there's nothing wrong with that. They're just not brain surgeons when it comes to certain exit plans. In particular, the CPA tax who created this, I think he's the Elon Musk of tax. He's brilliant. He's a genius. And he's defended it over 20 times, formal and state, formal audits and state audits all no change, no findings. And then remember too, the 1031 does not work for primary homes, businesses, stock, artwork, cryptocurrency. And if you've tried 1031 exchanges the blockbuster way, you've no doubt felt the pressure and maybe felt trapped by that. Okay. By the way, real quick, the inflexible passive way, this is called a Delaware statutory trust, not to be confused with the deferred sales trust. Again, this is really a Delaware 1031. This is blockbuster. It has some pros, it has some cons. Let's talk about the cons real fast. Not liquid. Funds are tied up for 7 to 10 years. Not diversified, typically in 1, maybe 3 properties. Fees are as high as 14% to multiple parties. Old depreciation schedule, which means the 1031 sell high and buy higher in the same market is also not great with timing. There's a thing called 7 deadly sins of a DST or Delaware 1031, but the main one to focus on is not value add. You know, the key for real estate I found is to buy and invest into real estate deals that have some kind of a opportunity for you to increase the value, for you to, add washer dryers, for you to change the flooring, for you to change the landscaping, for you to do something that's going to increase the value. That is so important. And if you don't have that, and the Delawares are typically more turnkey, beautiful properties, great operators, but we really call that sleepy mailbox money. It's definitely passive and there's not a lot of upside, which is not necessarily great, especially if you're seeing inflation that's going pretty rapid at this point, okay? So you wanna make sure you understand the differences between those two. And that's really important. Now, again, the positives, these are non-recourse loans. They're also turnkey, beautiful properties, Class A locations, first-class tenants, typically in operators. But also, it's really quickly, you can close them right away. You can close on a 1031 right away. Also, post-close, there's no more new management, no new leases, utilities. Basically, it's, no more toilets, trash, and evictions. It's called peaceful mailbox money, or I like to say sleepy real estate capital. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes we'll do a Delaware. We help clients with that if that's what they really want, but we just want to give them the pros and cons. But it does solve mortgage over basis, which is really cool. Or if you have debt over basis, the deferred sales trust does not solve that, but the Delaware does. And sometimes we do a combination of two. All right. So I'm going to walk you through how to eliminate the need for the 1031 exchange so you can create and preserve more wealth. But first, I'm going to give you a few examples. Here's a client of mine. He sold a $48 million property, multifamily property in Las Vegas. His name is David. You can hear his entire story on my YouTube channel. Okay. He also has done 4 other properties. One was 20, one was 16, one was 33 million. Here's another client of mine out of Denver, Colorado. And he sold a $4.2 million. It was like an Airbnb multifamily property. And he was just like, Brett, it was great cash cow, but like my wife and I are just like, we don't need any more cash. We just want to be, have some time and energy freedom. We want to enjoy life and travel. That's what their B was all about. And the deferred sales trust gave them that without having to pay the tax, and you can defer it. Here's another deal we did in Colorado. It was a $5.1 million sale. We used the DST plus for this one. We eliminated the estate tax. There's a deal we did in almost $13 million deal, a car wash in San Diego. I deferred about 40% of tax. We also had multiple partners on this deal. One of the advantages of the deferred sales trust is each partner can have their own, or they can just go their separate ways and pay their tax. The whole entity does not have to move. Here's another deal we did in Sacramento. It's a $3.1 million sales price, and we helped him defer about $1 million, 1.2 million of tax, and pay off about $1 million of debt. He had a little bit of a debt over basis, so we had to do a partial Delaware statutory trust. We did a Bitcoin deal out of Silicon Valley before the crash. She had bought Bitcoin for 50,000 and went to 50 million. And at 54,000 a coin, we exited at 5 million. She's really happy. She did that obviously because Bitcoin, I think, is around 15 or 20,000 right now. We did an Ethereum sale. We helped the client do a 2.5 and another one do another 5 million. A lot of it was at Celsius. So we got it out before all of it hit the fan, and he might have lost everything, but he basically was able to diversify about 7.5 million out of Ethereum into a deferred sales trust. And he put it into stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. And he's really happy he did. Here's the house I told you about in Palo Alto for about 8 million. We did primary home. All right. So let's go into the steps. If you're saying, Brett, this sounds awesome. This is great. Can you tell me like how can we do this thing? Okay. Well, step 1 is, again, you want to clarify with yourself or for your clients what their wealth plan is. You want to clarify what they're trying to do. And then you want to form and work with us to form the DST. Funds are typically held at places like TD Ameritrade, okay, or Charles Schwab. Number two, you want to transfer assets to the DST in exchange for a promissory note. And then the DST sells the assets, okay? And that is really kind of step two. It's just forming the asset or forming the trust and then transferring it to the trust prior to the close of escrow. And the DST basically sells the assets to the ultimate buyer. And that's how it works. Step three would be proceeds are sent to the DST and funds are invested. They can be invested into real estate syndications, securities investments, stocks and bonds, active real estate investing. You can purchase investment real estate by partnering with the DST. You can go into passive deals. You can go to cryptocurrency, business ventures. You can lend the funds. Essentially, you can diversify all of the above. Now, we do want to make sure it fits your risk tolerance or your client's risk tolerance. And we got to be careful not to over concentrate. We do got to pay you back the money as best we can. It's not a guarantee, but we want to diversify and make the collateral as secure to your risk tolerance or as aligned with your risk tolerance as possible. And step four is just to really, hopefully for yourself, if your client is to enjoy your wealth. Maybe you want to give more. Maybe you want to invest more. Maybe you want to start a new business venture. Maybe you want others to invest with you. And essentially these promissory notes are 10-year notes and you can renew every 10 years. You can pass it to heirs. These are 8% compounding interest earnings is the target. Okay. Net of all recurring fees. Recurring fees are about 1.5% to 2% on a recurring basis on the AUM. There's also an upfront fee of about 1.5% on the gross sales price. And that's why our minimum is, by the way, 1 million net proceeds, $1 million gain. It's got to be big enough. It's got to be enough pain. If it's not big enough, then it doesn't make sense for anyone to do the deal. You got to have, $250,000, $300,000, $400,000 of tax liability to make this make sense. Otherwise, you might as well just pay your tax and not have to go through any of this setup. Okay. But by the way, the client can also always be, can be cashed out along the way and just pay the tax. These 10-year notes can be a 5-year note. It doesn't have to be 10. You can move funds outside your taxable estate with the DST. So who is ready to participate? I'm going to ask someone to unmute themselves. Who would like to participate on this next slide here?
Who's feeling brave? I mean, I'll do it, but I want one of you guys to do it.
All right, I'll do it. I know.
There you go.
All right. Say hello.
Well, hello, I'm Peter. I am in the Boston area.
Peter, good to meet you. Are you an investor or are you a broker or both?
I am an agent in GIA Team and also investor.
Okay, so you're an investor and an agent too?
Yes.
Excellent. What do you
a rental property?
Okay, great. What do you sell? Like single family rentals or multifamily or single family residential homes?
Residential.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Great. Excellent. So like mostly primary homes, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, we just did a deal in Boston not too long ago for I think it was like a $1.7 million house. Okay. So we're going
That's
to
about the average nowadays.
Yeah, for sure. Right. So, but we'll use an $8 million deal. We'll use the $8 million deal we just did in Palo Alto. Okay. Just to show you what's possible. Okay. $8 million deal in Palo Alto. Now this particular client, he had about a $6 million adjusted basis. Okay. Now this included what's called the 121 exclusion, which is the $250,000 because he lived there the last 5 years. You familiar with that one?
No.
Yeah. So that was his basis. So he had a $2 million gain. Okay. Now in California, that's about 33% to 37%. We'll use 33 on 2 million, which is about $600,000. You see that?
Yep.
So this is what we're trying to solve for. So if you could walk in at the closing table and have an extra $600,000, that's probably a pretty good deal, right? Because this tax gain of 2 million equals 600,000. So this is what we're trying to solve for. So what happens? All right. So the $8 million property, instead of selling directly to the cash buyer and receiving the funds where this tax is triggered right here. Okay. What's your first name again? Sorry.
Oh, I go by PF. By
What?
PF Fire. PF Can. PF Committee.
Like Paul Frank, P as in Paul, F as in Frank, PF.
PF. All right. Just PF. Okay, cool. All right. Like PF Chang's, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
You
All
know,
right.
Cheesecake
PF, got it.
Factory, PF Tang. This is
All right.
medical.
There. Okay, cool. So you see
He
PF.
showed
you
his age with PF Flyers.
And PF Fire.
So PF, you see how if the cash goes directly to the cash buyer, it's going to trigger this tax. You see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So instead, what we're going to do, we're not going to have the tax go there. In fact, we're going to set up a trust, and the trust is going to sell the asset, or the owner is going to sell the asset to the trust, and the trust is going to sell it to the buyer. You see that?
Yeah.
And the cash is going to land into the trust.
Mhm.
So remember, he also owed $6 million. That's the other thing I wanted to say, right? So the debt was $6 million was the debt. So after closing costs, basically about $2 million hits the account. Okay. See that?
Mhm.
So up here though, he sold it for $8 million. The trust bought it for $8 million and sold it for $8 million. So how much gain does the trust have?
0.
You got it. So 0 times 0% or whatever, 37%, 36% is 0, right? So the trust has 0 tax because it has the same price that it sold it for, it bought it for, okay? Now the cash buyer takes the property, he's gone, he's out of here, he's happy. And what happens to the seller? Or the seller gets a promissory note. Okay, so they took a 0 down payment and they received a $2 million promissory note, PK. You see that?
Yes.
Okay. So if they receive 0 at closing, how much of this $600,000 is triggered?
None.
You got it. So he's in a deferral state. He carried 100% paper, 100% financing. So PK, what questions do you have about what just happened?
When do I get to enjoy the cash?
We'll answer that in a minute. Gary, what questions do you have about what just happened?
Well, what I'm wondering is, what is it possible to leave the 2 million in the trust, and instead of taking it out or receiving that note, that I guess you could take payments on a note, could you reinvest it in another, real estate, crypto,
Yeah,
what have you?
that's exactly what it is. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
we got to go make the money on this, right? So typically these notes are structured at 8%.
Mhm.
It could be 6 to 8%, but let's just say 8. Okay. Compounding rate of return, net of fees. And most of our clients will just live off the interest only payments.
Mhm.
So guess what? We have an extra 600,000. Gary, guess how much the government charges you on this interest payment?
Ah, okay.
So it's like an
0.
interest-free loan from the government, as long as you don't dip into the 2 million.
Okay.
Now, if you just
so
live off the 8%, you'll pay ordinary income tax on that 8%, which is what most clients do.
Okay, because the interest is not a capital gain. It's
Yeah, it's just interest. It's
Right.
ordinary income. So
Gotcha.
you'll pay,
Ordinary
you get a 1099 for the interest. Okay.
okay.
But that's only for 10 years or something like that. Is that correct?
And then every 10 years, and you can renew for another 10 years. And then you can renew for another 10 years. And then you can pass it to kids and they can renew for 10 years.
So you can just keep doing it and get that 8% interest.
Yes.
Okay. What, does that ever end?
If you want it to end. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a
Or-
balloon payment. Yeah, it's a
or-
balloon payment. So if you let it expire, all the money's coming back to you.
What do you have to do to
Okay.
keep it up?
What does it cost to set up the trust to begin
We're
with?
going to get to all of this. Any other questions on this page? I love it. I love it. I love it. Any other questions on this page?
Hi, Brent. This is Greg from Phoenix. When you sell the property to the trust, does that trigger the due on sales clause from the mortgage holder?
So it's a simultaneous close, right? So it's not like we're hanging out, like, owning a property for a couple of years until we find a buyer. In fact, the way we work is on a conditional basis, and we'll only transact in escrow if everything is set up, and if we don't get paid, right? So it's like a half second we own it for, right? Typically. So the answer is, even if it is yes, that we're paying them off anyway. So we're going to pay the debt. It's a part of the deal to close.
Excuse me, this is Bonetto from
Hi.
Virginia. Is there a minimum requirement, a minimum to open one of these?
1 million net proceeds, $1 million gain. 1 million net proceeds, $1 million gain. Now, if you're selling a primary home and the people are married,
Right,
they have a 500,000 exclusion.
right.
So then I like to see typically like a $2 million gain after, well, and the 500 makes it 1.5. So I still like to see this, but don't forget this 500 was one of the best deals they've ever given us. It's called the 121 exclusion, right?
Mhm.
So it typically needs to be like a $2 million property or better for primary homes. Now, the only exception is that they have like 2 assets at 500 each. So they've got like 2 rentals that are fully depreciated, let's just say.
Mhm.
And you can sell them both at the same time and get that $1 million net proceeds and that $1 million gain. Okay, any other questions about how this thing worked here?
So really, I like the fact, I mean, this is so much better than a 1031 exchange. 1031 exchange is so many, you got, 45 days to identify the property you're gonna buy with the proceeds from the sale of the first one. You got 180 days to close, and it has to be like-kind property. Here, well, number one is you don't have to, there's no capital gains to worry about if you just take the interest on the loan, and just let that ride, and then they'll will it, I guess, or gift it to your children, or maybe can they be made beneficiaries of the trust, your heirs, and inherit the note that way, or is it?
Yeah, it
does
all
that even-
depends. There's the DST 2.0 and a DST 1.0. A DST 1.0, your kids are not the beneficiaries. Here's the understanding: you don't own this trust. If you owned it, it'd be taxable because you just sold it to yourself. Just like you don't own a qualified intermediary.
Right.
You send the funds to so think of this like a long-term qualified intermediary.
Okay.
Where the funds sit, and then it owes you the money. You've loaned them to the QI company. In this scenario, it's Capital Gains Tax Solutions. It's single entity trust, only does business with you. Funds never move without your signature or your approval. They're invested in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, back into real estate. To answer your question, Gary, you can form an LLC, you're the owner of that LLC. The trust can become a silent joint venture partner with you in that LLC, and you can go buy real estate. I had a client, he sold a business, 2.6 million in Alabama, formed the LLC. He wanted to build 70 multifamily units in Tennessee. And that LLC became a joint venture partner in the bigger LLC. And the money that was funded was all from the trust. So these are all things that we show you how to do and how to structure.
And as real estate agents, we're able to help our clients with this because, and not get into the mess that you would get into with syndications, et cetera, because this is a setup as a trust, correct?
Make sure I understand the question. Say it one more time, Karen.
Okay.
Please.
So, obviously, we would have, there are certain kinds of situations that we could get into trouble being real estate agents and, getting into trouble, kind of showing people ways to invest their money, so to speak. But with this, we're really just showing them how to set up a trust. So we're not really having to deal with all of those kinds of issues. So I guess we really don't run into those problems. Is that right?
Yeah, great question, Karen. What are the roles here, right? And so I'm a real estate broker myself as well, and I'll still do 1031s. And I just sold a $7.7 million multifamily here in Sacramento. So here's when I'm in the real estate hat. And even right now as a trustee, I'm not providing tax or legal advice. I'm just introducing an idea or an option. The same way you might introduce an idea or an option for a 1031 exchange, and that you're not necessarily saying how to do it, or you're just saying, hey, here's a 1031 exchange accommodator. Here are some basic rules. Get with your CPA, go talk with them. We're that person for you. You say, here's Brett and his team. They have the tax attorneys, CPAs. Go do your own due diligence. You're not representing them as their tax professional or CPA. You're not giving tax or legal advice for a 1031 exchange, for a deferred sales trust. You're just saying, here's an option that might be interesting to you. Why don't you go talk to them? Right. And then regards to the actual trust, when it closes, yeah, we have a professional third-party financial advisor. And then we have a third-party trustee. That's our role. And then we have a tax attorney team. And we're typically working with their CPA and their team to make sure everything is suitable for what they're looking to do. Right. Yeah. As a real estate professional, you're going to make money because you're getting the listing, because you're solving the problem. B, if they go back and buy more real estate with the trust, you can represent them on the buy side of that. Right. And so we're all a team here. You're just getting even an advanced dream team to help you with your clients with your deals. Does that make sense, Karen?
It actually does. It makes a lot of sense. And then, you know, and as part of that working team, it's a great thing to put together, you know, in part of that whole financial plan, without getting into SEC types of, you know, issues. So I was just curious as to, yeah, if we were able to kind of utilize you, in other words, be facilitators, and at the same time, kind of stay out of trouble.
Yeah, there's same thing you do with the QI. You just say, hey, here's a qualified intermediary. Things called here's the thing, the 1031 exchange blockbuster goes back 25, 30 years. So we would never hesitate to say, hey, you should consider a 1031 exchange. Go talk to this exchange company. Now it's just, hey, you should consider a 1031 exchange and a deferred sales trust. Go talk to these two companies, right?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I missed the first part, but I mean, I really like this concept.
Okay, cool. Very good. Awesome. Great questions. Good thoughts. Real quick on the fees. Fees are 1.5% on the gross sales price. Let's say it was $1 million sale, be $15,000 to set it up. One time, covers lifetime audit defense. Then the recurring fees, second set of fees, are to me, the trustee, and the financial advisor, typically around 1.5% to 2% on a recurring basis for the ongoing management, investment, all of basically the maintenance of the trust, which is delicate and sensitive and particular, right? So that's why the deal needs to be big enough, because the pain of the tax needs to be big enough in the whole investment of the to hopefully out earn those fees and return the investment. Okay, so that being said, does the DST sale trigger a due on sale? Okay, we already answered that one. Cool. I'm going to keep going here.
Hey, Brett, I have one quick clarification request on the you're talking about the tax, like you gave the Taxicornia rate, you know, and on your prime residence there, it was 600,000, but you didn't address any federal obligations. This eliminate the Fed capital gains tax and all state, municipality, et cetera.
California's 13.3, sir, for certain deals of certain size. Federal is 20%. So my quote of 33% included the federal and the state.
Okay.
And it's not eliminating, it's deferring.
Right, right.
Okay. Now you add Obamacare tax 3.8 if it's an investment property. So it can easily be about 37% in California. Then if you have an investment property, you've depreciated it for years, you can add another 2, 3, 4, 5, 10%, depending on how long they've had it for.
And these are for individuals. When I say that, as an example, my wife and her sister had a corporation, or still do, and they owned apartments in Milwaukee. They divested themselves of them. It was a 1031 exchange originally with their father's farmland. They went to multifamily with it. Not really like kind, other than it was income generating. But to defer the taxes initially, they did that. And then they wanted to get rid of those. They still have a couple others, but they didn't want to do a 1031 again. They wanted to actually take the cash out or have access to the cash. But they couldn't do another 1031 exchange because they would have to still do it as a corporate entity. Will this eliminate that requirement?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, it doesn't eliminate it, it just solves it. So what you're looking at is what's called blockbuster partnerships. Everything must move. Everyone must go together. It's a C corp. Everyone must keep going together. In our scenario, we can separate it and we can basically assign the interest of the C corp to each partner, and they can each have their DST, and they can go their separate ways.
Man, I wish I'd have known that a couple years ago.
keep that story because this is why we're here, right?
Right.
Most people only know about Blockbuster. They don't know about Netflix. So this is why we're here. All right. So for what your investors and maybe what you used to have to do, okay? Stay millions in debt, stay millions in gain in real estate, maybe even debt too. Businesses or crypto, not sell, or borrow against their crypto holdings or real estate, or give it away to charity, which they maybe don't want to do. Not sell a business, stock, primary home, overpay for a 1031 new property, have to keep the partnership together, more time, energy, toilets, trash, tenants, employees, and liability, become the lender for the single buyer. Because someone might say, why don't you do a regular installment sale? Well, you're counting on that buyer to pay you back. You're not diversified. You're not liquid. You might have to foreclose on it. Stay in debt, time, energy, and stress. Pay the tax, not invest when and where you want to, not accomplish your B. How long are you going to wait for yourself and for your clients to not accomplish what they really want to do? All right. Let's talk about this concept. How to grow your cash flow with a DST, deferred sales trust, even if you don't have any capital gains tax deferral knowledge or a ton of time. Number one, understand your ROE. Gary, what's an ROE?
Oh boy, you're going to start me on that one. Return on
equity.
Equity. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
See the deal, $2.5 million. And I'll tell you exactly how I help my clients decide on the deferred sales trust. I say, what's your ROE? They go, what do you mean? I said, your return on equity. I go, let's talk about it. What do you owe? They're like 0. I'm like, what's it worth? They're like 2.5. I'm like, okay. And what's your NOI? And they're like, well, about 120,000. So guess what I did? I took 120,000 and I divided that by 2.5 million. And it's about 4.8%, 4.8%, 120,000 divided by 2.5 million. So then I said to them, well, what if we could turn that 2.5 million and we could turn it into 8%? That's $200,000. So I said, what if we took $120,000 and we divided by $200,000? Guess what? That's a 60% increase in cash on cash return. So they said, Brett, you're telling me that you can increase my cash flow by 60%. I go, yeah, that's actually pretty much the average for most DST clients. And I don't have to do any toilet trash liability. Yeah, that's right. And I don't have to do with any, eviction laws or rent control with California. Yeah, that's right. And I can buy real estate whenever I want. Should a deal come up? Yeah, that's right. But I don't have to buy real estate. Yeah, that's right. They go, great, let's do the deal. So I listed the property, sold it, $2.5 million deal, Placerville, California. So understand the ROE is so important, right? Understand your ROE, return on equity. Help your clients understand that.
Hey Brett, just, you mentioned something I just want to clarify, mainly just for me, because I've been out in California quite a bit. I got family out there. If you own rental property in a trust and like Governor Gruesome gets his way, gets a statewide rent control, the trust is exempt from that?
No.
Oh, okay.
Whatever owns it, you're going to have to, abide by that.
Okay.
That's why most of our clients are selling out of California, investing in other states.
Right.
That's the reality.
Massive number. The volume of money leaving the state is absolutely, yeah. 5th largest economy in the world.
Yep.
Amazing.
Yep. So that's really good. Okay. So return on equity, again, understand what it is, understand what it is for your client, and understand what the net proceeds could be into the DST. And then basically times about 8%. And the DST invest the funds and it pays the client or pays you, right? It could be 5 or 6 or 7, depending on your risk tolerance. And it's not a guarantee either, but heck, I mean, if we can go and diversify and get the money working for you, that's a really powerful thing. Okay. Number 2, make sure you understand how to save a failing 1031 exchange to invest into multifamily syndications or other real estate syndications or other assets like the stock market. Number 1, you want to connect with our team, Capital Gains Tax Solutions. So to do what? To provide you with a 1031 qualified intermediary who's our strategic partner, okay, and work with us to make sure that everything is in order. Do not assume that the qualified intermediary that you work with now wants you to know about this, because guess what? They probably don't. Most QI companies want to stick you in Blockbuster. Most real estate brokers want to keep you in just 1031s. It's all they want you to know. They don't want you to know about this. And or they have all the reasons of why it doesn't work or why they don't think it works or why they wouldn't do it themselves Well, there's been thousands of closes, billions under management, 20 no change hours at it. It's literally batting 1,000, national law firms, private letter rulings, on and on and on. It's literally batting 1,000. Perfect. But they have their skepticism, and rightfully so. We just choose to unsubscribe to all qualified intermediaries who do not want to give our clients an option to make a decision for themselves of whether or not they want to use the deferred sales trust. So I literally have people call me, and they're in what's called 1031 jail, Gary. And they call me and they say, I use this company. Brett, can you help me? I have millions of dollars I'm going to pay in tax. And I say, who's the company? And they say, blah, blah, blah. I won't even say the company, but you can email me offline. I'll tell you all the companies never to use ever again. And I say, I'm so sorry. You're going to have to probably sue them or do something, because they're like the Darth Vader. They're just going to say, no, no, no. And you're going to ask them why, and they're going to say, oh, we can't do it. And I say, well, maybe if you press hard enough and they might transfer your exchange to another accommodator. And they're going to tell you why they can't do that. And I go, well, why would they do that, Brett? Well, guess what? Blockbuster didn't want Netflix to succeed. We are a competitor, right? We are the Netflix, and they are the 5,000-pound gorilla with 5,000 QI companies with lobbyists in Washington. And they want to keep the 1031 as and by the way, I love the 1031 when it serves my clients, but I loathe the 1031 and companies who will not accommodate when it does not serve what my clients want. I'm going to always fight for my clients. And so we do use those that are amazing. I think the best QI in the entire country. And if you email me directly, I will connect you with them. Okay. And I'm happy to share that. And what I would tell you is to never send another deal to anyone who will not give your client a 1031 or deferred sales trust option out of a failing 1031. So that's step number one. Make sure you're working with the right people that will accommodate, that will help, that actually know what they're doing. Because and by the way, not all these QI companies are like that negative. I mean, I paint that picture just to kind of get your emotions up a little bit. Some of them just don't even know. They just don't even know. And they're just like, hey, we're just trying to do our QI company business. We're just a general practitioner. We don't know that advanced stuff. We don't want to open ourselves up to potential liability that might be there or might not be there. We're just going to stay in our lane, and that's great. We choose not to subscribe to those that don't know what they're doing with this, and that's okay too, right? So, but there are those that will adamantly go against it. Be aware of that. They write these blog posts that seem all scary, and then it's so out of context. It's like the drive-by meter going 1,000 miles an hour, and you're like, that is so out of context. And then we actually get them on the CPAs on the phone and get people on the phone. We explain it to them. We show that there's lifetime audit defense, perfect track record. Then people relax, right? And then they go, okay, let's move forward with the plan. So just a little encouragement there. So let's keep going here, and we're going to be winding this down in a few minutes. So I promise.
Hey, Brett,
Yeah.
just so everybody understands, we've learned about personal trust before, and the land trust and things like that. Personal trust is more of a comprehensive. It's for your family, things like that. So this trust here, is this specific to one transaction, or can that trust be used again over and over again for other transactions?
The latter. It's really great. In fact, you can form one trust and close multiple assets into it.
Okay.
You get multiple promissory notes, right? One for 3 million, one for 5, one for 1, one for 10, and you accumulate all the wealth and consolidate it. And guess what? You can go use up to 80% for a down payment to go buy a $50 million apartment complex. And you're like, oh, this is great, right? This is awesome.
So you can, in other words, you can liquidate the asset, defer the taxes indefinitely, take an interest payment on the note, or you could actually reinvest the funds in there in another asset. And it doesn't have to be real estate. It can be, It
could be a business venture. It could be investment real estate. It just can't be a primary home. Primary home is taxable. Okay.
Yep.
In fact, I wouldn't be here if you couldn't invest in investment real estate. That is the best kept secret. You can buy back into real estate, investment real estate whenever you want. You can develop with the money. It doesn't have to be equal or greater value. It doesn't have to equal or greater debt. It doesn't have to be 45, 180. It doesn't have to be Blockbuster. It's really, really flexible.
So no time frame. In other words, we could wait out the market and wait for a year or two, and whenever there's more sales.
Exactly right. Do what's best for your client. Present them with the option. Let them decide, and it's going to get you more listings, more referrals, more deals, because you're looking out for their best interest, and you're providing a transformational solution, right? Which is really going to change their lives and help them to create and preserve more wealth. So let me keep going here. I'm going to share the screen.
Okay.
And yes, Craig, find me on eXp Workplace or email me, Brett@capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. And I'm happy to share that list with you. Okay. All right. So then step number 2 would be set up the deferred sales trust and close on the deferred sales trust basically on day 46 or day 181. Okay. Then number 3, the DST invests the funds and pays you back. All right. Number 3, kind of bonus here. How to leverage the DST to grow your wealth, eliminate estate tax, and increase your tax flow immediately. Number 1, close the DST or the DST plus. Number 2, what we were asked, what Gary was just talking about, we joint venture partner with it via an LLC with the DST to invest into real estate, which means what? You form an LLC. Number 2, you amend the operating agreement. Number 3, the DST invest. Number 4, that LLC invests in the LLC and the LLC buys the real estate, right? And you manage and operate and run that the same way you would have, except you have a silent joint venture partner, which does what? It produces depreciation. Oh, wow. Isn't that cool? So you're telling me I can form an LLC where I put no money into, the trust puts up all of the money, but I get the majority of the depreciation? Yes. Wow. Too good to be true? Well, no, it's not. If you actually break it down and understand it, it's actually very simple. If Gary and I were to form a partnership right now and Gary's doing all the sweat equity in a deal in Florida and I put up all of the money, Gary can get the majority of the depreciation. If that's what it is. That's the deal, right? He has all the expertise, and that's the way we work that. Number 4, the funds move out of your taxable estate if you use the DST plus. By the nature of it, we're able to get it outside the taxable estate, which is incredible, okay? So here's the plan. The deferred sales trust can help you solve your cap gains tax and estate tax problems or your clients. So the plan is simple. We're going to form the DST and we're going to transfer the funds to the DST. We're going to sell the asset. We're going to defer the tax. We're going to fund the trust. We're going to invest the trust, and we're going to pay you back. And we're going to do all this with dollar cost averaging, anytime investing. And that's the deferred sales trust for investors. I want to thank you for attending. I want to open it up for just a few questions here. I want to encourage you to get the brand new book that's coming out in about 30 days, everybody. It's called Building a Tax Deferred Exit Strategy. It's the proven playbook for unlocking your ideal wealth plan for yourself, for your clients. It's my entire story. We have people like Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. Anyone see Shark Tank before?
Mm-hmm.
He is in the book. We have some cool financial advisors. We have some amazing multifamily syndicators, some of the best in the country, all in the book. And we want you to check that out. So check that out, coming out on Amazon soon. That being said, who has any questions for me?
I'll tell you what, if you could, the book, I think we have that in the show notes. Make sure we have that for the show notes for the podcast. Because that'll help promote the book. Yeah. So
absolutely. And inside of here, I'm going to put my website into the chat. I'm also going to add my YouTube channel into the chat.
Okay.
So you guys, if you want to subscribe, if you want to give it a thumbs up on some of these videos, that is so appreciative because it increases the algorithm, which, oops, I think a direct message. I wanted to send that to everybody. And that algorithm then increases the opportunity to help more people understand this. Any questions? No bad questions. They're all good questions.
Well, when we come across a situation like this, and we sometimes do in our group, we've got about 100 agents on the team, and there's a dozen of us that do commercial work. We have a separate mastermind. I've actually run that one personally. So we do have some transactions that will exceed that limit. And obviously we're not qualified to do this ourselves. So we just, refer them to you. And these, now remember, we're strictly real estate. We can't help people buy and sell businesses. We would actually contact you for to sell a business opportunity. We would take care of the land and building it or do some referral. But on this situation, we just connect them with you, the client, and you take care of all the trust work and everything.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And
Okay.
we pay you a referral fee if it's a direct client. But the key is you come and you set a meeting on a Zoom, and we all jump on a Zoom and we start to map it all out. And that's great for you because you get a chance to absorb this and be a part of it. And now you know 5% more, 5% more, 5% more. So when you go in, you have that confidence. You've talked with the tax team, you talk with my team, you've seen the investment allocations, you've gone through it, and all of a sudden you become more of an expert. And now you separate yourself. Now you do that one big $5 million primary home in that street that you never could get the listing on, or that commercial real estate deal.
Yeah.
Now you take that deal story and you walk down the street, you knock on every door and say, I have an exclusive, if you're part of EXP2, I'm a business partner, right? He wants to help you. Or strategic alliance is a good way to put it, right?
Yeah.
We will help you exit. help you exit in a way that's really transformational for your family. Would you be open to learning a little bit more? And you don't send them my name or the name of the trust. You simply set the meeting, and then you bring me on the meeting to help you win the deal, right? And then we share videos and we do podcasts and all that cool stuff. So
Yeah,
that is the name of the game.
we've got a couple of them.
Oh.
It's Karen, we have one coming up, and Deb, I don't know if Deb's still here.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of them coming up that would probably meet the criteria here, and I think it'd be a great way to cement the relationship, with those clients.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you, if we just, if there's anything we can present, but if we can talk to you and do a Zoom meeting or something, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, we've got a mastermind too. Yeah, I'm happy to allow you guys in on as well every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you want to, it's a good way to bring clients who are just don't want to necessarily be in a meeting right away.
Yeah.
So they can come in. It's basically like this, and we just it's called a master class, and we just talk about the deferred sales trust, the deal close story of the week, frequently asked questions. Anyone has questions can bring them up.
We can access that from your website. Is that correct?
Yeah, go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com if you want to register for that.
Okay. All right. And now I have a quick question. So once this is set up, you said, I believe you said it's like 1 or 1.5% to set it up initially, and then 1.5% per year, etc. But you said that there could be multiple ones used in the same trust. So I'm gathering that for each one, it's what, 1.5% to set up, or even though there's one fund or one trust.
Karen, email me and I'll send you the fee schedule.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. All right. This was good. Well, Brett, I'll tell you what, thanks again. I did a great job on the podcast. Great class tonight. I mean, people were engaged, and you brought the fire. So that's all I ask. So we got
I gave them my all. Gave them all, Gary. Hope everyone gave it their all with their attention in there. I think they did, and the good questions and thoughtful answers, thoughtful thoughts. So this is good. Yeah, find me on Instagram. Find me on Workplace if you're EXP. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Join the mastermind. Just take massive action.
Yeah.
Take massive action. Take massive action. This to me is the best way to build your luxury real estate business, your commercial real estate business, and help more people. So just jump on.
Okay. Are you part of the global shark team, the commercial group?
I'll be speaking at the EXP commercial event tomorrow morning. I'm a part of I think I'm like the advisory something, or I don't know. There's certain things they've added me to. I'm so busy that I don't get to all that stuff, but I'll speak at certain events. I spoke at the EXP commercial event in Vegas last year. And then I was in Vegas. I'll be in the Orlando shareholders one coming up. And yeah.
Well, it was the last shareholders in
Cabo,
Orlando in June, where the global shark team, it was a commercial team, had a presentation.
Oh, the Shark Tank. No, I was not a part of it. I want to be. Kevin, I think, was on there. Yeah, Shark Tank. He was. Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, I didn't get invited to that one yet. So
So I met him several years ago in 2015 or 16. There was a mastermind group I was in, and he was part of that.
Cool.
And so he said he remembered me. I don't know if he really did or not, but he did say he would do a video for us, because our team's the global investor agent team. Now we're obviously on the residential side, and so we're limited as far as what we can do with commercial. But we can do the land and building. We just can't do the business opportunity when there is one. So we have to partner. And that's why I formed that alliance. But I'm always looking for fresh new alliances, and you definitely bring the fire. So, don't be surprised.
Thank you, Gary.
Yeah. Hey guys, everybody give Brett a big pat on the back. Big thanks for doing this and bringing the goodies. And if Brett, you're welcome to hang out, but I've got a few more things to go over with the team. You're welcome to hang on if you like.
I'm going to jump with the family. All right. So appreciate everybody. All right. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, Brett.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah. So, hey guys, so a couple things I was mentioning before this started, to look for the rental ads, and when they look like it's it's not a company, it's not like a rental agency, but like an owner trying to do their own business, call them up and have that conversation. I'm telling you, it was one of the key ways that me and my brokerage company got listings when we were in business full scale. It's one of the top listing getting techniques is to call the landlords who are trying to rent rentals. We did it year round, but we really focused. We got a lot of business during the December, January months because you usually think about it. If they're renting this to somebody in January or February, sorry, December or January, it's probably most likely not a good scene. And the owners are under stress, they're getting tired, and they just want the headache to go away. And you can make it go away. And just use that phrase. You know, I saw your ad. I'm not calling to rent. Please forgive me, but I am interested. If we could sell your property at the right price, would you consider it? You know, and just get the ball rolling. That's how I do it. Now, next thing is more mainstream. Who here has ever seen it like in the summertime leading up to July 4th, a bunch of little flags in every yard in the neighborhoods? Anybody ever seen that? You know who generally is doing that? You. Realtors are planting those flags, and they put their business card right on the flag. And the neighbors don't want to yank theirs up because everybody's got one in the whole neighborhood. So guess what else works? What do we see in the month of December, sometimes in neighborhoods, particularly at nighttime, right along the edge of the yard or the sidewalk?
Christmas lights.
Yeah, or a white paper bag with sand at the bottom and a candle.
Luminaries.
Luminaries, yep. And you put your information in there on the bag, you know, staple your business card to the bag and do that. You don't ask for permission, you just do it. You know, it's very inexpensive. I mean, that's another item. That's just for a neighborhood. That's just residential for a neighborhood. And right, keep front of mind presence. One thing we did do with, or I did with Heather Price, is we found an e-card, basically Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, what have you. And I said, copy this link and see if it works if you bring it up yourself. It wasn't sent to her, it was sent to me, and I shared it with her, and it worked. So I said, go ahead and send that. Go to KV Core, send it out to all of your contacts in KV Core, and just say Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas. They give them an e-card, has music and video, okay? And it's free if you do it that way, 100% free. So I would do those things, guys, during this month. There's not really much else. I mean, most people.
Funny.
What's that?
That's so funny because I use the American greeting cards, e-cards to send out to clients and stuff. And yeah, there's a link. You can copy the link and you can put it out. You can't do multiple in that system, but you can copy that link and send it out to all those people by using KV Car. You can even schedule it. You can even schedule it in an email. I do mass scheduling. That's interesting.
Exactly. Remember, guys, everybody's in vacation mode, holiday mode, Christmas shopping mode, cookie making mode, you know, and people are afraid to do stuff in this month when it comes to real estate. I mean, think about it. It just happens every season. So do what you can do. Take advantage of, you know, what is it you do in the season? And giving somebody a season greetings card is one of the easiest, or luminary is going to take more work. That's more like for your personal neighborhood. But do those two things. Now, the other thing is, next 2 weeks, we're starting into the 4-part process: vision, goals, action plan. So next week is vision, goals. Weekend after that is goals. So I'm going to be teaching the next 2 classes. Definitely invite your other agents to the next 2 classes. Okay. You can invite your investor clients too if you want, but particularly anybody that you got your sights on, or you want to just let them take the easy road out, invite them to class so you don't have to talk to them about EXP or the team. You know, I'll teach the class. When you guys bring up questions about what do I send somebody for a lead that I got from Ideal Estate, Really Flow, you know, I'll go into the whole process, how you generate the lead on Really Flow, how you go get the letter from the website, demonstrating our systems and our platforms for your guests so that they're not seeing anywhere else. And that's when they call and want to talk more about the team. So happens every single month. I do it regularly, guys, and I'm telling you, at least 2, sometimes 4 times a month, it leads to direct conversations specifically about our team in EXP, just by inviting people to class. So the next 2 weeks to be ideal for that, because you want to share, you want to teach, you want to serve. You don't want to beat people over the head like everybody else. Do something good for them, help them succeed, help them be progress in their business and have some success. That's what they'll remember, right? Does that make sense? So, okay, Any final thoughts or questions, guys? Everybody okay?
Yeah, this was pretty interesting. Lots of information. He went like really fast though for me.
I know. Yeah, but you know what, guys? I'm certainly not an expert at this. I'm not an accountant or attorney. But I like doing this too because I also learn. It helps me fill in the blanks. And you know, I'm personally looking at another type of trust. It's a much bigger, more comprehensive type of trust. It does sort of the same things, but this one might be ideal for a client. Just as they're like, you know what? I've got this $2 million piece of property. I'm just tired. I'm 70 years old. I'm just tired. I just want to sell it. And could be an ideal solution for them. Think about it. They've got the note. They've got the money secured, but they can just simply live off of it. I mean, $8,000 a month is nothing to sleep. Or sorry, 8% on 2 million. That's 160,000 a year. So that's 10,000 a month plus another 40. That's $13,333 a month. Even in California, you can probably live off of that. You know.
Yeah, I wish I'd known about this deal a year and a half ago. My gosh.
I know, Rob. I remember we were talking about that, and it's just too bad. I'm sure there was a lot of savings going to be had there. You know.
Yeah,
So,
we got another one that somebody wants to buy, so this will hopefully take care of that.
Yep. Well, give me a call, Rob, when you get closer. But way before that, don't wait, because there are some other people I know that do this in this business. I mean, that's what retro is one specific option. Just like cars, there's as many types of trust as you can imagine, you know, and it'd be good to pick the right one. So there's some people I can connect you with that can have the conversation and ask the questions, understand the circumstances, and help you determine what's best, you know.
Okay, cool.
Yep. So, okay. Well, listen, guys, thanks for participating. Appreciate it. I think we had a couple of guests on tonight. So it's nice to see that. And always welcome then. If you do, and John, nice to see you, by the way, speaking of guests. So I'm glad we're on. I hope you got a lot of this, John, too. So a unique subject. Normally we don't go into trust, but it's very rarely do we have somebody that can speak intelligently about them and educate us. So, but if you guys don't have any other questions, let me just check here real quick. We can, oh, good. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. So we can call tonight. I will see some of you on Wednesdays, the Asian Attraction Mastermind. And that's probably the last one we'll do for the year. Make sure you're coming in, because remember, we made that a working session. The prior two sessions, we got stuff done in marketing, on KV Core, or what have you. So make sure you're in on that one on Wednesday to finish up December and prepare for January. 2 of the top months for attracting people. So make sure you're there for that one. And I will see you also next Monday, and next Wednesday is the monthly team call. Definitely make sure you're on that one. Okay.
Leave her alone.
Yeah.
Pull it in.
And that one,
Pull it down.
the monthly team call is, you generally don't invite guests on that. I'll let you know when it's okay to invite guests. But the Monday night, always Monday nights open, always invite guests. Okay, everybody okay? Guess what I got this weekend?
Ice cream.
Not just a little thing. I got a giant, the big round one. I'm good. That's it. I got it till the end of the year. So, all right, you guys, I appreciate you. Take care of yourselves. God bless you and your families, and we'll see you the next two Mondays. And guess what? Then we're done for the year. Nothing the week of Christmas. So, unless you need me for anything.
Thank you, Gary.
All right, you guys take care of yourselves.
Bye, Al.
Adios.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See ya.